It's working. It's cool. We're cool. It's going to go live. It was
Cool.
just because I was in the wrong web browser. It's going to
Oh,
work.
okay.
Yeah, we're cool. We're cool. Yeah,
Let's go back to Zoom.
it's going to happen.
It's happening. It's in the zone of happening.
We're cool. It's going to go live. It was just because I was in the wrong web browser. It's going to work. Yeah, we're cool. We're cool. Yeah.
What?
It's echoing.
Okay.
We're actually live now.
We are?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Could we stop this transmission right now and delete
you want
it
to
and
stop it?
create a new one? I don't
Let's
feel
just keep
ready for
going.
this.
Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. It's cool.
All right, let's
It's,
keep going.
Yeah, we finally made it. So we had some technical difficulties getting a live stream like on YouTube, and it's weird because it's delayed 20 seconds. So I'm actually watching myself 20 seconds ago. Amazing. And you know, this is kind of interesting because what's actually happening here is I'm in the present looking into the past. But what you're talking about is you're talking about living in the present and looking into the future.
Oh, and the
Potentially.
past and the now. It's you know, it's all open when you're talking psychic abilities. Yeah?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're here to talk about is you are doing an intensive, it's like a series of classes. And what it seems like what you're doing in these classes is you're going to be teaching people how to access psychic abilities.
Yep. That's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah. And what is the what I'm laughing because I've got cats fighting behind me here. But so you're gonna be teaching people how to access psychic abilities. But in your particular case, what I understand about you is you were kind of born with psychic abilities, right?
Yep.
And so I wonder, like, if you're born with psychic abilities, how possible is it to learn how to access them? Like, because it seems to me like you didn't really learn; you were just sort of gifted this ability. So for like your average Joe on the street, like, how can I do it? Like, what's the kind of it's trainable.
It is trainable. So the thing is that psychic ability is something which is inherently all of ours. So I like to say it like that you know, a psychic ability is like when you're close to the light of your soul, or that the light of your soul is in your body, or something like this, um, then you have certain abilities which are inherent to the soul. It's just like, you know, your body has an arm, then the soul has psychic ability or a healing power, or, you know, a way to remote view something, and so on. So yeah, but it's possible for people to refine this by understanding and to see and define the difference between frequencies, and also to notice the part of them which actually is using this already. You see, most of us, we when we're children, we learn to emotionally monitor our parents, and that's actually where psychic ability starts, you know, from where I see in most people. You see that to monitor the parents, and therefore you start to have knowledge about their inner state, which you know, you wouldn't have otherwise, I guess.
So this is why if you're a kid and you've got like a crazy parent, you sort of know the moment you walk in the door, you get the vibe. You can feel it,
Yeah.
but maybe you can't identify it at that level. Now you said a couple of phrases there. One of the phrases you said was, did you use the phrase ladder of the soul?
What?
Ladder?
The light of the soul?
The light of the soul. Light of the soul.
Yeah, the light of the soul, yeah.
And the other one is like you were talking about is identifying frequencies. And that's pretty interesting to me. You know, one of the things I talk on my channel a lot about is different frequencies. And I always talk about the elements like the fire, water, earth kind of stuff. Is that what you're talking about? Or how do you identify different frequencies yourself?
Well, like, so firstly, to know that what you're experiencing, if it's yours or coming from someone else, like that would be like where to start. That's the first thing you have to be able to know the difference between. And then when we've established the possibility to then notice and know that what I'm experiencing is coming from another person, or maybe another place, or whatever expression of energy there is that you're monitoring or using your ability to do, then to then notice the difference in frequency from what you are experiencing. So let's say you're monitoring a person.
Yeah.
And let's say that person is, having a really good day, is in a beautiful vibe, and so on. And then the next day or the next person, you use the ability again, and then there's a difference in frequency. That person is not having a good day, you see. And so there you will learn how to see the difference between frequencies, and therefore you can put words on frequencies and so on. So one of the things that we're going to go through in the course is to be able to open up in such a way that our bodies are going to be like in harmony with others' bodies, like pretty much like that the physical expression which is in you, I can go in and I can tap into how it feels to be in your body, pretty much. And that's one of the ways of opening up to using this ability. There are many ways of doing so, and I'll be going through many different ways of.
So it seems like part of this then is like is you've really got to teach people how to sort of listen to themselves.
Yeah.
And sort of really, so that can be hard sometimes, like and it's funny, like on the true participation stuff that with the group that Joshua had there, which I went to a couple of times, but in that particular group, it was really everybody in that group was pretty switched on. They were already pretty sensitive, right?
Yeah.
And then I think about that, and then I compare it to like other types of people. For example, a lot of people like on my group haven't been real spiritual. They might have done plant medicines, right? So they've got a vibe that there's something bigger out there, but they don't really know how to access it themselves. They're kind of like using these sort of third-party interfaces like ayahuasca or LSD or whatever to help them connect. But a lot of times what happens, it seems, is like they're identifying those frequencies like in the exterior. Like, okay, oh, wow, I took ayahuasca and I had an amazing experience. And what you're sort of suggesting here is like, no, you can have the amazing experience yourself if you can sort of tune in to something. And it seems like what you're saying is you're saying that you've got to learn how to name different states of mind or different emotions.
Well, it's pretty much just to be discerning, like to really give yourself the space, both within yourself and in life, that you are able to clarify for yourself, what is it that I'm really feeling? What is it that I'm really watching? What is my experience? And what is my energy expression also? Like one of the things that are really important is your own expression of energy, like the things that you are going through, both emotionally and on a physical level, that in such a way that you're aware that what you're feeling is not coming from another person. It's not a projection, and so on. So
how common do you think it is that people are feeling projections from other people? Is that like a sort of standard? Is that like a standard modality of like consciousness? Because I feel like I'm really like independent. Nobody can affect me. But just recently I've had an experience like of feeling projection from somebody, like a very, very strong projection from somebody else. And it was so powerful that it actually changed my state from being kind of negative into being a positive state. So in some ways, maybe being able to identify that's cool, but maybe I think probably, I don't know if you agree with this, but like usually the states of projection we're receiving from people might be negative.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so is that like, because I mean, some people might say, why do I want to learn psychic abilities? Because I think for a lot of people, and I'm one of those people, that when I think of psychic abilities, I'm thinking of like seeing into the future and like, does she love me? Is she going to dump me? Is she cheating on me? Is the job going to come in? Is that the primary benefits of doing this, or is there something? Is there some? What do you think?
Well, so no, I mean those are benefits of doing this, but those are not the primary benefits of doing this. Not as the way that I perceive it. The primary benefits of doing it would be that you see yourself in life differently. Like you yourself, when you have this activated in you, then the way you go through life will be totally affected by having this ability. So it's a very healing thing. Like it's very, it's, quite the gift to be able to go up high and see yourself from that level. And it's just a healing experience to have this capability. It's like, gives you a totally different access to yourself, gives you a totally different possibility of understanding yourself in life. It's just yeah, that's what I think is most important, because it's been such a great thing for me to be able to use this in my own spiritual journey to help myself evolve and progress. That's the biggest gift this is for me. So, and then after, then to be able to help others, that's also a huge gift. That, sometimes I've seen people, just by me saying a few words, I've seen their lives totally transform. And I've not, and I didn't necessarily know why I was saying exactly these words. Sometimes I did. Sometimes I knew that it was exactly these words needed, and then I could see it from that level. But being open doesn't always entail that you know exactly why you're saying what you're saying. So, but to have that possibility of giving those type of gifts to people, to see someone transform in front of you, that's quite something. Like it's, yeah, I love that.
You said something that was interesting there. You were talking about like when you can move up to this level of awareness, then it's a sort of healing experience. And so it's kind of interesting, because what you're talking about there is you're talking about you can see yourself like in a different way. And so like there's some kind of like relationship here between how you see yourself. Like it's the classic meditational relationship about who am I? Who's the self I'm looking at? And like when I'm looking at the psychic from a psychic perspective, am I looking now at the ego? Is that what's happening? Is I'm now able to be aware of the ego's expression? Like
yeah, among other things,
yeah. So it's something like that that's going on. And so like part of this process then, if it's
it's very easy to unlock like the twists and turns of how we lose ourselves in life, or how we break. If there's something needed to be able to, if there's a sight, if there's a knowledge, if there's a vision, something, a feeling which is needed for you to be able to see yourself or unlock something which makes you then heal, like that's quite the gift.
Yeah. I wonder how it ties in with like other practices. Like, I mean, I don't know how you're quite teaching the class yet, but it seems to me that like if you meditate, for example, meditation sometimes gives you a different view on who you are. So I'm wondering, is there a relationship between meditation and your technique of learning how to be more, how to tap into these sort of psychic abilities?
Yeah, there are a few meditations that I'm going to be teaching in the class.
Really interesting. Okay, so that's kind of like a key part then, is like getting into the meditation and learning how to, because it seems
one of the
to,
keys,
yeah, because it seems to me if you're like learning like frequency, like part of the problem that I've learned with frequencies is that one is what you're saying, is that there's frequencies projected from the outside. Then two, there's sort of internal frequencies which are conflicting with our ability to perceive. So for example,
that's also projections. That's of the same nature as those that come on you from the outside. Others' projections, it's the same nature as the ones that you have and are projecting on the world. So a lot of times the world is actually just functioning as a mirror for who you are in the moment. So so those projections, that's what I'm talking about. That when you are perceiving or trying to perceive or trying to use psychic ability, then oftentimes then people who are in that movement, then they will project something which they have themselves onto another person, and then they say that person is like so and so, and they think that they're reading them, but yeah, but in reality they're projecting. So, and that's one of the things we also will go through in the classes to see the difference between what is you and what is others.
Yeah. There's quite a lot of I'm wondering about like how this, because kind of like the way you're talking about this now, it's almost like it's like a tool to help us understand ourselves better, right?
Yeah.
And that's really cool. I think some people might think of it like in terms of, wow, maybe I can use these abilities to find out things about other people. Like, 'cause I know, for example, one of your things is like you often have flashes of insight, and you've mentioned to me that sometimes it's just way too much information. You see things you don't want to know some things, right? You'd be talking, you're like, yeah. And so one of the things you've had to cultivate, I think, is cultivate the ability just to be silent and not allow yourself into those spaces which just become revealed to you. But probably for most people, they're not going to have that kind of access right off. I mean, you've
it's different. Like it depends on, you know, for one person who might be really, really ready to open up, then to close down again afterwards might be hard. For a person who's coming and is maybe a bit afraid and taking small steps in terms of opening up, then to open up might be hard. So it depends on where the person is and yeah, how their inner is orchestrated pretty much when it comes to spirituality and, you know, themselves in life and so on. So
do you find you have to do that? You actually have to consciously shut it down? Like
yeah, like that's how it's been for me. Like I've been through different levels of openings with my abilities, and I've experienced after each time of opening that I have to then focus on learning how to close down when I've reached to a new level, like with my ability.
yeah.
And yeah, but now, like today, I use my focus, and that's also one of the things we'll be looking into in the course is focus, like how to focus, how to close down your focus, what focus really is, like what is focus? I mean, like how do you utilize your focus, and so on. So it's yeah, it's going to be quite the blast. I can't wait to do this.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. There's I'm a big fan of this writer called Franz Bardon, who's got a whole bunch of practices, not so much about psychic, it's more sort of a hermetic magic kind of orientation. But he's got a whole bunch of practices about trying to learn how to focus your mind, because this is like the big thing. If you can't focus, you can't really do anything, I don't think. Maybe, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't like to see things in terms of black and white like that.
Okay, yeah.
I've seen like meditators who've meditated for a long time, and all of a sudden their brain starts to talk a lot, like going from a silent state to all of a sudden to have the London Opera going on in your head.
Sure.
Like and you know, but still being able to go through that with a leveled emotion and so on is like life expects us to accept it in so many different ways on so many different levels. So I try not to be too judgmental when it comes to stuff like this. So.
No, that's good. I just remember, like in Bardon's book, one of the interesting things he was doing like simple practices, like, for example, if you're going to like have a glass of water, actually try and consciously focus on the process of drinking. Because what tends to happen is like, okay, I'm drinking like what's on television, like what, you know, and you get like 10 things going on at once. So the idea is to try and just like separate the vibrations out as much as possible. Another one he had,
that's pretty much the same principle. Separate the frequencies.
Yeah. He had another one too, which is, but like,
you know, there are so many ways of doing that.
Right. I'm looking at my
computer. You were talking about the glass of water. I have to say this.
Yeah.
Like when you're standing with a glass of water, then you can call forth the spirit of water, or or the soul of the water, which we can call ocean. Ocean is the name of the soul of the water. And
Yeah.
so standing with a glass of water, you can say, ocean, fill me up with light, before you drink the glass of water. There's, or in anything, you can ask for any type of cleansing or healing or whatever. That was a detour, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. No, it's interesting what you're saying there too, because it kind of ties into like focusing the mind. And
Yes.
and one of the interesting things you said there is you said, ocean, fill my body with light. And I know like when I started becoming aware of like energy and stuff like that, or before I became aware of that level of understanding, if I heard somebody talking about filling their body with light, I thought it was just really stupid and it's like imagination and just, you don't even know what you're talking about. How important is like imagination in like tuning?
Extremely, yeah. Imagination is also one of the topics we're going to be working with in the course. But imagination is extremely important. It's something that's inside of us, and it goes outside of us and inside of us at the same time. The movement of imagination is kind of an expansive type of a thing. It goes both out and inwardly. But mostly we only notice the imagination when it goes inwardly, because that's what we experience. We don't notice our imagination that goes out of our bodies. And what does that do? What does that create? That's one thing. Another thing is to be able to give your imagination a free pass to express itself, and in conjunction with intuition, that the imagination somehow becomes a voice or a mouthpiece for the intuition into your body. And that's one of the ways of using imagination as a psychic. So to let it talk freely.
Yeah. So this is what some people, I've heard about people doing this before. Like, for example, they'll do things like automatic writing. And so the idea is you try not to think, but you try and let
the flow,
intuition flow through you or something like that, right?
So maybe it's pretty much the same with psychic ability. Like there's a flow, and the flow, like you get into the flow by letting go of structures of yourself. And when that happens, then you're in the flow, and the flow just says stuff, and it takes you, and it, makes things happen, and so on, and it heals and lifts and does a lot of beautiful things to you. So psychic ability, there's a lot of it, about being in the flow also.
In the flow.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, you often hear people talking about this flow state consciousness. So what that kind of is then, I guess, it's kind of like just having the ability to quiet the mind or whatever, and just sort of is intuition. It's like this intuition thing you're talking about, right?
Oh, the stream of life takes over. Yeah. Like one of the it was very obvious to me. Like one of the leaps in evolution when it came to my being and my abilities was when I experienced that my personality, all of a sudden, it stands next to my body, and it was not in my body, and therefore I wasn't experiencing the personality or the storyline, the human storyline. And what I was watching through my eyes was like a grid, which everything physical was, hung upon. It was quite weird. And I was in this state for 3 days. It was for a week, I guess. It was as a results from a new meditation that I had been taught. And what happened was that all of a sudden, I was hooked up to a new flow of information, which I heard in the field. I heard the sentences again and again, extra cerebral memory. Like that's what it was. And I could see my brain was kind of turned off for a long time after this happened. And the only thing that was going on was like a flow. If someone was in front of me, the only thing that was said was what was needed. And I usually didn't remember a lot what was going on and so on. So it was quite weird, actually. But and that's what can happen to you when you're evolving yourself spiritually. When you're on a path, like, you're gonna experience a lot of weird stuff. That's how
Yeah.
it goes, and that's some of the beautiful things we have in this, is all the weirdness, like. And yeah, but the information, it when you're a psychic, or when you're using psychic abilities, the information doesn't come from the brain. The brain, uh, it interprets the information, and you talk, but it's the energy of the situation you're looking into, or the individual you're looking into. A good psychic is able to let the energy of that just flow through and say the words, and it's not nothing in the way.
Interesting. And it's funny because like a lot of those experiences, like which seem like almost psychedelic, you're seeing a grid, you're seeing your personality beside you. Those are the kind of experiences a lot of people expect to experience, like if they take like 5 grams of mushrooms. But you're not talking about that. What you're talking about is you're talking about awareness, right?
Yeah. Yes,
Awareness.
that happened after I was shown a new meditation, which was actually a 24-hour meditation, and I did it for 2 weeks straight, and so it resulted in this. So
It's amazing. Now, when you've been doing this stuff, like, because that's almost like, it's funny because like psychic abilities seems like it's like there's sort of two things we're talking about here. One is like there's like a spiritual path, which, and then there's like psychic, like trying to learn some psychic abilities.
yes,
And psychic abilities seems like it's smaller, it's like a smaller topic. Not really, but it might seem that way to some people than like spiritual awakening, right? So psychic abilities is like a subset. It's like a smaller part of the spiritual awakening process in your case, right? But I think maybe for some people, like they could get some psychic abilities. But I wonder, like, is there those weird experiences are wonderful. Like I've
they
had weird
are.
experiences, and I'm just like just last night I was having some weird experiences. Like I was sitting watching Netflix. I stood up, and my consciousness just expanded just to unbelievable levels. And
Yeah.
it was kind of scary at first, but I'm used to that kind of stuff now. So I just sort of tried to sit in the moment and just sort of feel it out. Like, why did my consciousness expand so much? And
Yeah.
I could sort of sense like what you're talking about. It's almost like you start hearing information because all of a sudden your mind's not there so much. But I
Yeah.
wonder, like for some people, like is it dangerous? Is doing a class on psychic abilities dangerous? So
No. No.
okay.
No.
What happens in the context of like for example, man, it'd be great to have some psychic abilities and get into the mind of my girlfriend and just see what she's really thinking, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really just what is going on there. And so like how do you view that? I've seen a bunch of people say different things like you should never use your psychic abilities on somebody without their permission.
That's
Then I've
true.
seen other people saying that, well, as long as you're doing it with the best intentions for that other person, then there's no problem. What's your vibe on that?
That's true also. Like this, it's that there are many truths in this. Um, Look, so it depends on if you are a private person, or if you're working with this. If this is your profession, like, I would never go professionally and look at just anyone and say what I see. Like, um, that tells that I need permission, and so on and so forth. But if a person has to do with me and has to do with my own, let's say, evolution, or my own path in life, and so on, if something is up, if something is bothering me, or if there is a key needed or something, then I use those abilities. But that's a personal thing, and I never say a word to anyone about stuff like that. And that's an inner thing, totally so. And personally, like, how I see that is that using my faculties in life is not a crime. Like, so
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the things that's always impressed me about you since day one is like you've got like a ethical. You're very ethical about what you do, right? And when we were working together, that was what you were. That was what you were trying to make me do. You were
Yeah.
trying to get me to be more ethical, too,
Yes.
right? And it's not. Sometimes it's not even ethical. It's just being ethical with yourself, right? It's being ethical. Is being honest about who you are. This kind of stuff. So I guess this comes up like when you're like if you're using psychic abilities. I guess it's one of these things that you have to tune into the different frequencies about what is ethical, who am I, what is my role in this other person's life. So it's almost like to be able to use these abilities in correctly, then you sort of, it seems like you probably are going to experience an automatic refinement of your
That's true.
consciousness.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah. And
Right.
that's one of the reasons why I created this course, is because I want to create that refinement in the people who seek it out. You see, there was something you said before, and that was about spiritual growth, or my path in life was one thing, and then the psychic ability was a bit smaller, and so on, comparing the two. And personally, like, because I've had this always, it's been totally intertwined with my evolution. So I can't say that the one is smaller than the other. It's just on some levels, my psychic ability has probably made sure that I've been able to move in the ways that I have. So it was, I just wanted to say that.
There was I remember reading a book a couple of years ago. At the time, I was reading a lot of books about enlightenment and like spirituality and stuff. And I found it was like a pamphlet, and it was called Verification of Enlightenment. And it was interesting because, a lot of people claim to be enlightened, and it's like, how do you know? And then like, it's an interesting like parallel with psychic ability, because like sometimes, for example, like, I think I have insight. So I sometimes have intuitive vibes from people, and it's like, but how do you know? It's like the verification of truth. So it's one thing to have like what you think is psychic ability, but then it's like, how do you know it's true? And a good like example of this, for example, is on my cell phone. I've got this great like tarot app. It's like reading the tarot. And the funny thing about it is, it's so weird sometimes. Like for example, I'm dating this new girl, and like, wow, all the cards that come up are all the cups. It's all these loving cards. I'm like, this is amazing.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, the tarot is right. It's showing me. And then like a week ago, we had like a fight. And like the next day I did the tarot, and it was all like death cards and the 3 of Swords. I'm like, oh my God, how can it be so right? But then, like after a couple of days, it changed, and it's like, I mean, how do you know? How do you know if it's true or not? There are these like, I guess my point is this, is like, the
thing is, so how you know is that, and this is actually a quite difficult question, because so you only know when you start to open up. You see, you can only know it when you can see the reaction from the other person, right? Me, I don't use tarot cards. I just use my senses, and I feel into where people are, and then I start talking. Like, that's how it goes. And so the more I can shut off what my brain is saying, what the human storyline, the more I can put myself out of that which I think I am, then the easier it is for me to be in the feeling which is needed in order to be able to open up like that. And when I'm in the feeling, then I know that everything I'm saying is correct. Like, and most, I have a lot of times where I've had 100% accuracy, and always when I ask people how from 0 to 100. How many percentages would you say that I was correct? And they always say 95%. Everyone says 95%. And then when I start asking more about it, then we find out that it's a question of words, and that I might use 5% of words in some way that it doesn't, convey to them the way that they feel about the same word, and then we find out in the end that it's 100%. So that's really cool. I really like that. So and that comes from that feeling, that I know, okay, now I put myself out of myself, so to speak, and I am now linked with this individual, and I can now talk from that energy. And
Okay.
oftentimes what happens when people sit down with me is that I'm able to show them themselves in a way that they just, that it heals them.
So that's interesting. So you put yourself into your sort of into a sort of higher frequency, let's call it, and sort of get out of the mind, right? And then you get into the zone, and then you talk.
Intuition. Yeah.
Intuition. So in the class, because you're teaching this class on psychic abilities and stuff. So are people, they're going to be able to talk to you about what they're going through and their processes and the difficulties they come up against? And it's like, because I mean, it's obviously it's a video oriented class, I guess, right? Video oriented.
Well, it's we're going to be live. It's not recorded videos. I'll be there, and there'll be Q&As and so on. So the 12th of December is our first day where where I'll be doing a presentation or talking about these different topics, where people then afterwards can ask questions. Same is going to happen on the 13th, which is a Sunday. And then from the 14th to the 18th, I'll be doing groups with people, and I'm sensing them while they are sensing each other, and showing them how to discern in the frequencies, and how to know if what they're picking up on is from themselves or from that individual. And that's going to be going from Monday to Friday. And then on the 19th is the last day where we're Q&A and so on.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And people can there are different levels of packages. Like you can get a one-on-one session also, and you can also get a one-on-one session with a third eye activation. So and that's something that I can do now, since I experienced my pineal gland awakening, and so I can replicate that feeling in others. So, and that exists, that will happen then.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to ask you, because you've been doing the Golden Heart transmission for a while now, and this is obviously sort of a different area of interest, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you do the pineal activation there, it's I guess the pineal activation would tie into psychic abilities too, wouldn't it?
Totally so. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Just third eye. The pituitary gland also, but the pineal gland is quite powerful when it comes to everything spiritual. Yeah, and we have a Golden Heart transmission this evening also. At 7 o'clock my time. It's at 10 p.m. in Los Angeles, I think. I don't know all of these different.
What's the time? What's the time in Denmark tonight? It's like 7, you said?
Yeah, 7 p.m. On Central European time.
Okay, so that's like 2 hours, and it's 4. It's like 6 hours behind. So if it's 7, it would be like 1 p.m. I think in the in Los Angeles.
Something. Oh, okay, I'm not sure.
I can't.
No,
you're giving the time.
I'm pretty sure it's 10 a.m.
Maybe it's it's like it could be something like that. Okay. Well, it sounds really interesting, Hilmar. It sounds like an interesting event.
Are there any YouTube questions?
That's a good idea. Let's have a little look. YouTube questions. Hey guys, at some point, could you touch on COVID and how we can stop their evil vaccination agenda? Can we overcome this with our mind and our own vibration?
Good question. So yeah, I mean, we overcome by not complying. That's how we do it. Just don't comply. That's enough. Like, and what I'm seeing is that they have been given a possibility to manipulate the whole world population into taking a vaccine, which actually is going to be um, Judge Doom on steroids, deathly, and it's going to be destroying our possibilities of having children, procreate, and so on.
Yeah.
So it's going to be quite the thing. But if we deny this and say we're not going to take it, then that's fine. The more we are, the better in doing so. So be after your politicians, push your politicians, contact your politicians, like call them 1,000 times a day, like if it's needed. To let them know that you're not going to go down that way. But yeah, that wasn't so much about our course, but that's still.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's not really part of the course.
No.
Obviously, but it is interesting, I suppose, if people are asking that. Let's see, live stream. I guess we don't have many questions, I guess. Let me see. That might be it. And then there's somebody wants a 24-hour mushroom meditation. Katie.
That's not a mushroom meditation.
No.
No.
Oh, here's somebody asking, what do you think is going to happen on the 21st of December during the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction?
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing that it's ramping up our field with more golden energy than there has been for a long time. And it's going to be like more, let's say, solid, the expression of golden energy from that, from the 21st of December. And yeah, I'm, the things that they're saying about that this is the, where the age of Aquarius is starting and so on. I believe so. I believe this is so. I think that we're going into a new golden age. That's what I'm seeing.
That's really uplifting because I mean, people can get quite negative about it, right?
Sure.
Most of the stuff you see on social media is like, oh my God, it's going to be terrible. But it's good to have like
but now, like what's happening is the old paradigm, like the old forces that were having power here. They're trying to control the direction of this divine energy. Like they're trying to sit themselves on top of. But okay, let's say it like this: you're taking something dark and you're trying to put it as a layer on top of the gold, and that's not going to work.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I think yeah, it seems to me that and I love to talk about this, about the vaccinations and COVID and all this stuff is really about this whole idea of well, a lot of the social media is focused on the idea that it's part of like some kind of other agenda about artificial intelligence and transhumanism, and who knows, but like it does seem to me that like one of the ways you can fight back with this stuff is the truth is transhumanism and AI is not necessary. Human beings already have access to quantum computing. The moment
we need to evolve ourselves. Yeah.
The moment we disconnect the mind and move into this flow state you're talking about in your class, like where you actually are connecting with like higher intelligence, then you don't really need any of the other stuff. And like I spend half the day on my cell phone, like trying to connect with people. But if you can use your psychic abilities and connect anyway, I think it'll take practice for most people to do that kind of stuff, right?
Well, what we've done is that we've taken, in the creation of a mobile network, we've taken something which used to be inside of ourselves, and we're putting it outside of ourselves. So it's like a remembrance of something that is inside of us, but but now the mobiles are talking to each other through a net you cannot see. So it's the same thing with us.
And their very existence makes it more difficult for us to connect on that level because we're so because our focus has been moved outside of the internal, and it's sort of placed into this black obelisk in our hand, the cell phone, right? So we're so focused on this thing in our hand. It's like the cell phone is like it's like a sacred relic upon which we focus our intention and magical powers instead of just focusing on ourselves. It's crazy what's going on.
Yes.
So actually,
We are already like the most advanced piece of technology on this planet.
That's
That's what it is. Yeah.
That's
and
what
what's
it is.
happening today is purely spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I think, like for the person asking there about the evil vaccination agenda, is I think, and I've said this before in the channel, that the only thing you can do is spiritual work, focus on awakening yourself spiritually and helping other people awaken. And that really, to me, is like the most important thing. And that, I'm actually, we were talking about this the other day about like, I was thinking about doing a new class myself, because it's like, how can I channel my energy into this objective because it's the only thing that works. It's like people have got to remember these like innate powers which are already existent.
Well, the powers are like I said in the beginning of our interview, like the powers are actually just like attributes of the soul. It's just like a hand for the soul, which it is like a hand for the body. It's like to have a limb or an organ. So, and the soul, as I see it, is God, is the Father, God, like, and everything material is the Mother, God, and so having gone through a process where you've shed a lot of layers of personality construct, when you've stopped being able to believe in the human storyline, that it is yours, that you are the one who actually created the human storyline and you're the one who's behind it, that you are the soul in the body, then you will have all of these abilities, but you will have to want your own expression as God in human form, pretty much. I hope that didn't sound too megalomania, but that's
Right?
my experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's my experience too, because the moment what happens for me is whenever I meditate to a very high level, it becomes really obvious that there is an intelligence so mind-boggling, like just below the surface of the ego, right?
Yes.
Sometimes
so I don't like the whole topic of the ego. I think that this is totally misunderstood. Like, people are bashing egos all over the place, and they're saying that they have to kill their egos and so on and so forth. And that's just violent towards yourself. Seriously so. Like, the ego, when you really start to understand what the ego is, it's like the ego is the thing that you project the human storyline on. You see, if you get enlightened, then that means that you have enlightened your ego. Then you have an enlightened world ego. Then you have expanded your ego to become a world ego, and then you become enlightened. You see.
Yeah.
So the ego is totally central to the soul, and it's something that takes different forms after what you need actually in life. You see. So so it just takes me off to hear the common misconceptions about what the ego really is. We need to love our egos, and we need to be really grateful for how our egos have protected us, and so on. And the ego is also a huge motivator for people to grow spiritually, and so on. So it's like it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And when you become enlightened, then the ego or parts of the ego are going to fall asleep, and the parts of the ego that are left is just going to help you receive from the world, and it's just going to help you from moving from A to B in the world. And that's like a power source of some sorts. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I guess people can find out more about this. You're going to have this class. It's going to start up pretty soon on the 10th of December, you said, right?
12th
of December.
Yeah.
And what we can do is below this video, we can like add like the details in there so people can can go find the information for this. But
Mhm.
obviously, like every time we talk, I mean, you've obviously got a lot of insight about this stuff, so other people can benefit about and find out for themselves. This is the only terrible thing about talking to you is we always end up talking for a long time because there's a lot of
Yeah.
ideas, But yeah, but it's good if we just end on the on the information. So we'll post that below with information about the course when it starts up on the 12th. And people can get in touch with you guys and join. I think it sounds like it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, I
guessing.
mean, I can't wait to do this. It's just quite the honor to be the facilitator of this. I really love my position in life. Like, I really do. Yeah.
All right.
Mm.
Nice, man. Nice. So yeah, we'll call it quits for today, brother, and have a great evening there in Denmark. And yeah, we'll try and do another chat some other time if you feel like it.
Let's
It's
do
always
that.
good to
Yeah.
laugh,
And a
man.
great day to you in Chile. And
Yeah.
I want to say hi to all of those watching, and check out our information in the link below. And yeah, one love to you all.
Peace out, brother. Take care. Yeah.
Take care.
Bye-bye.